Hiya, my name is Anya, and I'm here to lay something spiritual on ya. So if you've been watching my channel, you know I've talked a little bit about the Wheel of the Year and what it means to pagans and the holidays that are on it. I've done a general overview video, and for each of the holidays as they approach in the Northern Hemisphere, I work on making more in-depth videos about what those holidays are and what they mean in terms of the seasons, the god and the goddess, how it all fits in with the flow of the planet, Earth herself, and the sun in the sky. All of these things I've talked a little bit about, but what I would like to talk to you guys about today is how you can use the Wheel of the Year to map out your own year and use it as a sort of guide and schedule or structure to map out your own goals and things you want to achieve in the year so that it aligns with what's going on in the natural world. And I've been trying to hint at this as I've been going through the few holidays that I've gotten to, but I think it would be good to spell it out here, especially since we're not too far into a new year, so it might be something that you guys can think about now before we get to the next holiday in the Northern Hemisphere, which would be Imbolc. So how do you utilize the pagan Wheel of the Year in order to map out your own goals for a new year? Well, you would probably start around the Yule season, when it's usually the coldest time of the year and also the darkest time of the year. So this is a time where most animals are in hibernation, and we as human beings can't really go into hibernation in the same way. But for human beings, our hibernation time can be just a quiet time, a time of rest, a time of prioritizing going inwards and staying inwards, keeping warm, and in that sense, we can also look at it as a time of planning and strategizing and thinking about what is it that we actually want to achieve once things start warming up and things begin to come back to life, when the life is renewed and rebirthed at Yule, at the winter solstice as it is. What do we want to start working towards? So the Yule season and the Yule time can start to be a place of planning and thinking and strategizing and really digging into what seeds you want to plant. Where are you going to plant them? How you're going to grow? And yes, I'm using seeds as a metaphor here. Yeah, we can be thinking about how we want to, decorate our gardens and yards and parks and things like that, but I'm talking about the seeds you're planting in terms of goals, whether it be fitness goals, whether it be financial goals or work goals, or personal project goals. You have a book you want to write, you want to learn new art, you want to learn a new instrument. Any type of goal, you can consider this a seed that you're planting for yourself and what you want to tend to throughout this year. What's going to be the thing that you're going to try to grow in the new year? And at Yule, that's the perfect time to start thinking about that and planning it. Maybe create little lists for yourself and figure out how you're going to do that as the season goes on. Now, between Yule and Imbolc, you can start working on some of these things. You can take little steps here and there, and then hopefully by Imbolc, you might start seeing some signs of life, but Imbolc is also a good place to start doing some of the planting. Imbolc is a midway point between winter and spring. So Imbolc is that time where we're gonna start seeing life returning to the planet again. You might see in the Northern Hemisphere, this is a time where we would see the snowbells starting to blossom. We'd also might see some of the first blooms of daffodils in some areas. We see sheep and the lambs that are being birthed at this time. It's almost like a pre-spring spring where we're starting to just see hints of life coming back and reminding us that, hey, we're not going to be in the dark forever. So it's a good place to start planting bigger seeds, but you can also be planting some seeds along the way between Yule and Imbolc. And that's the thing, there are several weeks in between each of these 8 Sabbats where you can be working on these things so that by the next Sabbat, you'll start to see the growth and progress that you're looking for. And as we continue going on from Imbolc into spring, we're gonna start seeing more of the growth. We're gonna start seeing things are greener, the sun is staying in the sky longer, we're seeing growth, we're seeing brighter colors, we're realizing that, hey, this thing that I started at the beginning of the year, I've actually done something with it. Something's happened, something's bloomed, and we can get excited about that, like, what's gonna happen if I keep taking care of it? Because that's the thing, that's the trick. You gotta actually keep up and take care of that, because nothing is gonna bloom if you don't take care of it. You have to be dedicated and tending to these things, and it's up to you how much you want to tend them. But hopefully by spring, if you've been tending to it and taking care of it in a way that works best for you, you will start to see some of the blossoms and some of the fruits of your labor coming out and realizing that, this thing that I planted, this could grow up to be something big. I'm seeing the progress here. I'm seeing the leaves and the fruits and things are coming to life, and that's a good thing, and it should encourage you to keep moving on as we continue into the more fertile months, into the festivals of Beltane and Letha. Beltane being the midway point between spring and summer, and Letha being the summer solstice. These are the months that it's going to be the most fertile seasons. Everything is green, everything is bloom. The earth's at her most fertile, and the sun is at its highest peak on the summer solstice. So at these seasons, that's where we're probably going to see our greatest amount of growth, from the areas between spring onward to the end of Letha, and even a little bit beyond that when we approach the harvest months. But let me talk a little bit more about Beltane and Letha. These are the months where everything is really going to be in bloom. So if you've been working hard and tending those seeds and being really productive and proactive about your goals and the things you've been trying to work towards, the seeds that you've been tending, you'll probably realize that those seeds that you've planted, they really have taken off. You've done something with them. You've accomplished them. Say, at the start of the year, your goal was just to exercise more, just to go out for walks more. Maybe by May you start seeing like, hey, I'm walking a lot more. I'm walking a lot farther. I'm getting less winded. There's even been times I've realized I've gotten through my walks quicker, which means my body is adjusting more, and maybe I could even start jogging. It's little things like that. It depends on how big these goals are and how much effort you are putting into them. But that's what I mean. We're seeing the progress. We're seeing things happening. So then by your late spring and summer months, things are blossoming. But of course, by Letha, by the summer solstice, this is where the sun in the sky, it's at its peak. And after this point, it's going to start losing its strength, which means the days are going to start getting shorter. So this is a good time to be celebrating all of the hard work you've done to get here, all of the hard work that you've done in tending these seeds and taking care of them, working with them, and adjusting where you've needed to make sure that they bloom in the best way possible. So yes, it's a time for, again, always taking care and tending to the seeds, but also making sure you pat yourself on the back, because it is a lot of work to get to that stage. And then we start moving into our harvest seasons. We move into Lunasa, Mabon, and Samhain. So at Lunasa, our first harvest, this is where we start seeing that it is a good time for us to start, yes, harvesting these plants, these seeds, the things that we've been working on. It's our time to cut them down and take in our crop. Look at what we have created this year and really be proud of it. Be proud of ourselves and be proud of the fruits of our labor, because there's always pride to be taken when we know we're doing our best to build the lives that we want. So at our first harvest, we should start thinking about, what have we done here? What goals did we start out with, and where are we now that we are starting to tend to this harvest? What has worked for us? What did we like? What did we not like? What maybe needs to be culled back so that we're not bringing it in with us to a new year? Or even, what have we found along the way is a goal or an idea that we found as we tried to work towards that we actually didn't really want? That's something that we can remove from our harvest so that we're not replanting it in the next season. Or what planting techniques and strategies do we really need to reconsider? What did we want to take off, but it didn't quite take off in the way that we wanted? Is that a strategy that we need to adjust before we go into the rebirth of the year again at Yule? So this is all things that you should be thinking about during these harvest seasons of Lunasa and also Mabon. And then again, we have another harvest festival at the autumn equinox of Mabon, where we can start also tending to those late blooming goals that we have still been working towards all this time. They've been growing all this while, but some things just take a while to sprout. Anyone that has any sort of workings with plants or gardening or things like that know that not everything blossoms at the same time. So that's why you have several different harvest seasons. And while you're tending to things throughout the year, each one's going to need a different amount of watering. Each one's going to need a different amount of soil and fertilizer and things to help it grow. And you, as you continue working with your goals and building them and trying to visualize where you want to be with these goals, you're the one that's going to figure that out as you continue working, which is why we have so many different harvest seasons, because all that time we can be harvesting things at different times. So maybe it is another good time to start really thinking about, what worked for me, what didn't work for me, what do I not want to take with me into the new year, and what do I want to just change around and re-strategize for the next year. Again, at every season, at every Sabbath, we also take the time to be grateful and thankful for what we have, knowing that the goals that you have had have helped you build a more fulfilling life. That's something to be very grateful for. And then we move on to Samhain, which is the death of the year. And I have already done a video on Samhain, and I know I've talked about it quite a bit, and it's such a big holiday for pagans, which a lot of people find weird because it's a big celebration of death, but it's the remembrance that things need to die in order for new life to begin. That's what we see for this whole life cycle. Without the release and the death of the year at Samhain, we can't have the rebirth at Yule. So at Samhain, it's a good time to really look at all that we've harvested, all that we've grown, and realize we've come so far and we have so much to be proud of and grateful for. And then slowly, as we move onwards out of Samhain and into the darker and colder months, as we start preparing to go inward for hibernation, that's where it all starts over again, where we can start thinking about, all right, what are we doing? What are we planting? And where's it going to go next year? So really, this whole cycle of the Wheel of the Year can be used to plan out and strategize what goals you want to achieve in your new year. And I hope that's helped give people a better idea of what the Wheel of the Year is and how it can actually be used to help you connect with yourself and with the natural world a lot more. Because if you're in line with nature and the way that nature is growing and blooming, it can also help push you forward into the goals that you're working on. So I hope that's helped, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Anya out. Bye.